very, very difficult situation. As you look at our budgets, our overall budgets, you might think that we're in not such dire circumstances. But the reality is that many of the funds in our totals are restricted funds. If a donor gives us money that's being used to support a faculty chair, to support a scholarship, or support a student or faculty recognition program, we can't take those dollars and use them for something else. If a student writes a check to pay the cost of living in the dormitory, we can't take those dollars and use them to pay operating costs for another portion of the campus. We're obligated to use those dollars to support the purpose for which those dollars were given. If we sell corn at the South Farm, those dollars are obligated to rotate back into the cost of operating the South Farm, and the story goes on. A very complex organization. Our challenge is the limits we have on unrestricted funds. Those are the dollars that pay our salaries. Those are the dollars that operate the library, that contribute to the heating bills, the other costs of operating the institution. And those dollars come from three sources: tuition, the state's appropriation to us, and the indirect cost we recover on grants that our faculty get from various places. Our conundrum is, how do we continue in the current environment to manage our cost and yet continue to provide what I believe is the land-grant mission: provide access to our students, provide outreach to the citizens of our state through a variety of public engagement programs that have been part of our history for many, many years, and to also do the kinds of research that contribute long-term to our economic well-being and the advancement not just of our economy but also to our societal functioning of our society. This past year, as we looked at our students, just to come to the access question, we have federal formulas that allow one to calculate what a family is able to contribute to tuition and the cost of tuition, and compare that to the cost of tuition. And then you can establish a gap between what scholarships the family can provide, the student can provide, and what the true costs are. The gap last year was about $60 million. When we increase our tuition by 10%, we grow that gap about $16 million. That's not something that we can continue to do for a long period of time. It's just not something that works for us. Is our future good or bad? I truly believe that we can create our future as an institution. I have confidence that in time our leadership will understand the importance of higher education. We can also reach out to our former students, to our donors, and make smart decisions ourselves about management that allow us to address financial issues. Illinois Promise is a scholarship initiative that was begun several years ago, now provides funding to several hundred students on our campus as scholarships, undergraduate students. I continue to be impressed with the number of individuals, private donors, who come forward very interested in contributing either through endowments or current use funds to scholarships. It's something that people who have benefited from higher education understand and recognize the need. We did a voluntary separation and retirement program earlier this past year, last spring, and we thought that was a reasonable alternative to just doing layoffs. We abhor doing layoffs, particularly because it often comes to those most recently employed who are often less able to deal with the consequences of not being employed than those who are approaching retirement. Our voluntary retirement program allowed individuals to make personal decisions about their future, and in many cases to move to retirement. We're going to be able to save about $1.4 million in salary costs per month. That's not a huge number, but it contributes, and we'll continue to do those things that contribute. I think just about everyone is familiar with the stewarding excellence process that we have underway. This last spring, we started reviewing a great many activities that go on this campus that are under control, if you will, centrally. We have 17 projects. All but a few of those committees have reported. I think this morning or sometime today we will announce the most recent decisions that relates to aviation and the teaching support activities on campus. A couple of weeks ago we announced our results of our decisions based on the reports that have been submitted. We expect to save a few $1 million through the stewarding excellence process. Again, it's not the big number, but it is a number that will contribute to our overall budget management. I'm very proud of what's been done on this campus in terms of energy savings. We have began about 3 years ago a process of retro-commissioning buildings. This was done with Dr. Herman's leadership. Simply going into buildings that were put in operation many years ago and looking at the systems. Did the controls work appropriately? Should one, as I did in my office, have to open the window on a very, very cold day because the heating system was overwhelming the room? If you had that experience, you appreciate that it's bothersome to waste energy. And I'm delighted that we've been able to reduce our overall energy use substantially. And in part, Suhail is here today with the students that have been involved in the sustainability effort on our campus. Our students, as you know, this last spring voted to increase the fee or the voluntary amount of money that they collect to support sustainability efforts. It's $14 now, Suhail. If you think about 40,000 students, $14 a semester, it adds up. And it's allowed us to do a number of projects, replace windows, do things that allow us to reduce our energy use. That reduces cost. But in a broader sense, it also reduces our carbon footprint. And that is a significant contribution to the reduction of global climate change. So I very much appreciate the efforts that our students have made. Well, where do we go from here? And I'll wrap this up and then we can deal with some questions. I think we have to grapple with our role and how we help those in the state understand our role. I was in Singapore back in April, and we have an interesting project in Singapore. The government of Singapore, as you may know, has looked very carefully at their future as an island. How do they sustain employment and economic development on that island? And I'm using this as an example.